Navigating your 20s? Wow. It can feel like you're trying to build a plane while it's already in the air, right? It's just this decade of massive change, huge decisions, and a ton of learning. So today, we're going to try and distill a whole decade of experience into just a few crucial minutes, breaking down 20 really powerful lessons that can help you steer that plane with a little more confidence. Let's get right into it.
And this is really the whole idea behind this explainer. Think of it like getting a letter from your future self. It's a chance to learn from someone who's just walked the very path you might be on right now. And trust me, the lessons cover everything from your bank account to your mindset.
First up, let's talk money, but not in that boring spreadsheet kind of way. See, in your 20s, building a financial foundation isn't really about getting rich quick. It's about creating options. It's about building a launch pad for the life you actually want to live down the road.
Man, there is so much pressure to have it all figured out, isn't there? But here's the truth. You probably won't. The journey we're looking at here went from insurance to healthcare to social media, all in just 5 years. So the big takeaway is this. Don't get paralyzed trying to find the perfect job. Just start somewhere, work your butt off, and be ready to pivot.
Okay, this slide breaks down a really powerful idea called asymmetric risk. All that means is taking chances where the potential upside is just massive, and the downside, well, it's pretty manageable. When our source quit his corporate job to start a YouTube channel, the worst case scenario was dipping into savings or, just finding another job. But the best case, a much happier life and potentially way more income. In your 20s, with fewer responsibilities, these are exactly the kinds of bets you should be looking for. Building on that foundation, here are 3 super simple but powerful money rules. First, budgeting isn't about restricting yourself. It's about power. It tells you exactly where you stand. Second, credit cards are great tools for rewards, for building credit, but you have to follow the golden rule. Pay them off in full every single month. No exceptions. And third, renting isn't throwing money away. It's buying flexibility, which is incredibly valuable when you're still figuring life out.
I absolutely love this philosophy from author Ramit Sethi. This isn't about being cheap, it's about being intentional. So the guy whose lessons we're following drives a beat-up used car because he just doesn't care about cars. But he spent thousands building a home gym because his health is a huge priority. So you got to figure out what you truly value and then make your spending match that.
Okay, so that brings us to our next big theme, investing in yourself. And for a second, forget about stocks or crypto. The single best investment you can possibly make in your 20s is in your own skills, your health, and your experiences. The returns you get from that, they're immeasurable.
We often think of travel as an expense, right? A luxury. But this idea completely reframes it as an investment. Seeing new places, meeting new people, it just expands your perspective in a way that almost nothing else can. And this investment, it pays a very unique kind of return.
And this is what our source calls memory dividends. It's the long-term emotional payoff from your experiences. That trip you take when you're 25 doesn't just give you joy for a week. It pays you back every single time you remember it for the rest of your life. That value just keeps growing. All right, look at this. $20? It's the cost of a book, maybe a couple of fancy coffees. Seems pretty insignificant, doesn't it?
But the potential return on that $20 investment is just staggering. A single idea, one little mindset shift from one book could literally change the entire trajectory of your career and your life. Reading is like a shortcut to downloading decades of someone else's experience. It builds your own human capital for next to nothing.
And finally, the ultimate self-investment, your health. This isn't an expense you should try to minimize. It is the engine that powers everything else you do. Investing in a good gym, healthy food, consistent workouts, that's what gives you the energy to crush it in your career and actually enjoy your life. It's totally non-negotiable.
All right, so we've covered money and we've covered self-investment. Now, let's turn inward. Because at the end of the day, your external world is really just the reflection of your internal state. Mastering your mindset, your inner game, is the key that unlocks everything else. This is such a powerful way to look at life's challenges. See, every path has its own difficulties. You don't get to choose whether or not life is hard, but you do get to choose which hard you want. Do you want the heart of discipline and growth, or the heart of regret and stagnation? Your 20s are all about choosing the hard path that builds the best version of you.
And that choice, it plays out every single day. Our world is literally built for instant gratification, but all the real progress comes from delaying it. Choosing to read over doom scrolling or to build something instead of betting on sports, these are the conscious decisions that serve your future self over your impulses. Honestly, mastering this is a modern-day superpower.
This is a classic for a reason. Social media is a highlight reel. That's all it is. And comparing your behind-the-scenes footage to someone else's polished final movie is a game you will never, ever win. So you have to shift your focus. Obsess over your own journey. The only person you should be comparing yourself to is the person you were yesterday. You've probably heard this before, and that's because it is fundamentally true. The people you surround yourself with, their ambition, their habits, their mindsets, all of that will inevitably rub off on you. They can either pull you up or they can drag you down. Seriously, take a second and really think about it. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? Are they challenging you? Are they inspiring you? Do they line up with the person you're trying to become? This is one of the most important audits you can ever do in your life.
So wow, we have covered a lot of ground. Let's bring it all home with the final takeaway, which is really about taking ownership of your own unique journey. We get trapped so often waiting for the stars to align, you know? Waiting for that perfect time. But guess what? That moment never actually comes. Waiting is usually just a mask for fear. Sometimes you just have to be okay with imperfect timing and just go for it. Momentum is built by starting, not by waiting.
And this is where we're going to leave it. The fear of failure, yeah, it's real. But as our source points out, the fear of missing out, of looking back with regret on the chances you never took, that can be so much more haunting. So the final question is for you. What are you waiting